we're at that stage of the one vote margin situation in the Senate, which we don't really see that often. I mean, I remember my time in the Senate, there was exactly one time where we passed something big. It was a 50-50 tie vote, vice president casting the winning vote for the Democrats. And oh, by the way, we had 57 Democrats at the time. There were 7. Here we are again. Joe Manchin says no. But now Chuck Schumer says maybe we can change a few lines here. You've watched a lot of these over the years, Ezra. Where are we? What's happening?
So there are two margins here. There's a 1 vote margin and an 11 vote margin, right? There's the 1 vote margin to get to a majority vote on budget reconciliation package, on infrastructure, on For the People Act. But there is the 11 vote margin to beat a filibuster on them. I mean, not if you go through budget reconciliation, but you need those votes to do it. And so the thing that is happening here, particularly for the People Act, that I'm a little worried watching is Manchin has set up 2 separate hurdles. And I'm a little bit worried that he is creating the conditions to give Democrats a faux win when they clear one of them. Which is one hurdle is he's now saying that he opposes a bill outright, that if it did come to a vote on the floor, he would vote no on it. The other hurdle, which is exactly as big, is that he also will not support any effort, and he's joined by Sinema and others potentially in this, in creating exemptions for the filibuster or weakening the filibuster so the For the People Act can actually come to the floor and pass with 50 or 51 votes. And so I can imagine a world where Majority Leader Schumer gets Manchin onto some modified version of For the People or some expanded version of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But Manchin says, as he has at every other point, that he will in no way, under any circumstances, vote to weaken or exempt any legislation from the filibuster, in which case his vote is simply Pyrrhic. So this is a tough situation the Democrats are in and that Manchin has put them in.
Yeah, and it's hard to see where the flexibility is with Joe Manchin, but we have seen surprises in the past in certain moments where we thought it was hopeless. I mean, I'll never forget in the Obamacare legislation, they had 60 Democrats in the Senate. Senator Ted Kennedy then died, and everyone gave up. People just thought it's hopeless, and somehow they managed to get it through. They managed to divide pieces into reconciliation and get that bill through.
I never thought that was hopeless. I believed in Nancy Pelosi that whole time. But this gets to a bigger picture here where Manchin, I don't know. He has done everything he possibly can to make it very hard for himself to climb down from this position, right? He has created a series of public commitment devices to say he will not vote for this bill, although he's left a little bit of wiggle room there, but he really will not reduce the filibuster or weaken the filibuster. So I do have a question of what is the plan B here, right? 2009, 2010, Obamacare years. What Democrats basically do is they treat that as a period of time in which it is worth taking extraordinarily hard votes that may lose them their majority, because that is their one chance to pass an agenda that big. And I think there's been a mental analogy people are making to this era. It's not clear that is the era we're in. I'm not sure they can pass anything like the agenda they want to pass in a 50-50 Senate. So then a question becomes, how do they actually pass legislation? How do they avoid some of the hard votes and pass some of the really popular things that would give them a shot at increasing their majority, not losing it in the midterms in 2022, because they actually need to be playing a longer game here. So to me, that's a secondary question here. You may or may not be able to move Manchin, but if you can't move Manchin, then you may need to not be treating this as your one shot. You may need to be asking, like, what is a series of like checks in people's hands kinds of legislation that you can pass in order to win a couple seats in 2022 and come back with a 52-seat majority, where then Manchin is not the deciding vote on everything.
Which brings us to infrastructure, where there is this new round of negotiations involving a bipartisan group. But there have to be at least 10 Republicans in that group who stay in that group all the way and are willing to vote on the Senate floor for this. And John Thune, the number 2 in Mitch McConnell's leadership team, said today he doesn't believe you're going to get 10 Republicans on any infrastructure bill.
And you're Probably not. I mean, I could imagine some, but none that the White House would accept. Look, here there's, I think, a very different set of situations. I think that Joe Biden and the Democrats want to be caught trying. Joe Manchin cares a lot about the aesthetic of bipartisanship. In some ways, I think he cares about that more than he cares about any actual policy position on anything. And so to be seen trying, and then at the end of the day, Republicans don't bite, or they don't bite on the compromise bill, and it goes through budget reconciliation. Manchin has supported things like that in the past. He's a big believer in infrastructure. I could imagine him doing something like that in the future. It's pretty hard. It is pretty hard for me to figure out right now if what is happening is a kind of forced show bipartisan process before everybody goes through reconciliation, or Manchin is going to force the Democrats to swallow some real half measure on infrastructure. But I think there's a much better chance here that if he is convinced that Republicans will not support anything, that he'll go through budget reconciliation, because he believes that is already, as he's shown in the past, a reasonable kind of existing Senate process that doesn't break it, although he doesn't favor it in principle or in general.